Hello. Welcome, everybody. Azurite, Meteorite, Maz, Gabriel, Aviation. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, yeah. My last stream was custom matches, and then this time, like, well, Streamlabs doesn't like start you from scratch. It starts you from like whatever stream info you had last. So I updated the description and everything, but I forgot the title. No, Red, it's not what we're doing. Actually, if you refresh the page right now, it should be fine. Like if you close and reopen the stream, it should say Hangar Reviews. Me is me. Hello, Dave the Fish. Welcome. How do you enter giveaway? Check the description. So I'm just gonna put that in pinned message here as well. So the description has pretty much everything you should know. You should need to know, I should say. So yeah, it's the same as usual, which is just put in the letter I, the letter D, and then a colon before your in-game ID. So I mean, like you're watching this right here. So hold on, let me just give you an example. So like capital I, capital D, colon, and then whatever your in-game ID is after that. And this essentially is the keyword. So if it doesn't have this, or if this is incorrect, if it has a freaking, oh my god, every time, people will do anything to keep from following the rules. I see people putting it in like this, which like I've never seen this ever before in my life until like a few months ago when I started making this kind of rule. So yeah, yeah, don't do that. This won't count. Having an apostrophe here, this won't count. Even if it has the colon, the apostrophe will mess it up. Make sure it's correct. And of course, don't put the quotation marks around it. I always see people like, I put quotation marks around the keyword so that you know exactly what the keyword is. But then people type it, I think people like, they put a comment, but they keep the quotation marks around the keyword thing. And actually, I think it doesn't matter. I think it still gets picked up, but it's weird anyway. Deathwalker is $9.99. Yeah, I saw that. Actually, got that on my free to play account. As in I saw the offer, not that I actually got the offer. What I did see though was somebody else in one of my matches. This account is like 800 SP, by the way, and there was a freaking long arm Deathwalker in it. On the other team, he did not know how to use it, so he ended up dying very quickly. But how's that disclosure, Hemlock? Not great. Actually, one thing I did kind of want to ask you guys about was like, because I made a post and I was like, should I do anything specific for Halloween or not really? Here's a bunch. This is a hanger with a bunch of like Halloween-ish skins. Some of them are like strictly Halloween skins. Like this one's technically supposed to be a Halloween skin, even though it doesn't really look like it. That is what it's supposed to be, I think. But then some others that just like, kind of fit the vibe. But then I chose weapons based on like what looked best with the mech skin, and I ended up with some very interesting combinations. This one works great. That's fine. This one works fine as well. Actually, I'm not super happy with this one. It's incredible how few weapons look good. Or I shouldn't say look good. It's incredible how few weapons actually match the design of this skin. But anyway, and then this one, the weapons are a bit darker than I'd like them to be, but it's kind of whatever. This looks great though. You see it's got this, which kind of matches this. That looks really nice. This looks really nice. Like, freaking look at that. Looks fantastic. It doesn't work good though. I just tried it in a few matches. It doesn't work great, but yeah. And I have a whole list too. I have a list of like, how many? Maybe 35-ish different builds based on this idea, where like the weapons match. Like I was choosing weapons based on what matched the skin the most. And trust me, it gets way more scuffed than this. So yeah, I don't know if that's something that actually sounds interesting. But anyway, let's get into this. Long-arm Deathwalker OP. I fought a player with Helix Seeker. That's a gamer build right there. What is the best non-dash mech? Probably Deathwalker. Alright. Maybe I'm gonna do yours first. Because I saw that earlier. Says he's in tier 7 and curious about how to fit a rank 4 vortex into the hangar, considering doing Nade Eclipse, Storm Vortex, Minigun Aegis. What do you think? Nade Eclipse, Storm Vortex, Minigun Aegis would be good. Eclipse is arguably like top 2 mech though. And even though it's, I mean, similar to Surge, it can work with quite a lot of things. It's probably not really worth giving it your second-rate weapons. Because, like, you're not even using Nade Launcher right now. It's probably not worth giving it your second-rate weapons. I would probably... To some degree, you could probably put Vortex in instead of Aegis. If this were my hangar, and I was, well, you know, considering the type of things that I fight late game, I should say. If this were my hangar, I would probably replace either the Orion or the Nomad. Nomad actually lost a lot of value. Because now it can't, like... It can't dash in and one-shot things because of mod shields, right? So now, by the time, by the time you chew through their mod shields, in a lot of cases, your resistance already wore off. So you end up taking like a stupid amount of damage, whereas Search can just go in EMP, and then you don't take any damage whatsoever. And so there's that. It's a large stealth meta, so obviously Orion is like not super useful. Between the two, I think you're well enough along with all of this stuff to where you could probably get rid of the Orion in favor of Vortex. And Nade Vortex isn't that bad. It's actually pretty decent. You could maybe swap the builds depending on what mode you're playing. If you're playing like CPC, then you probably want Minigun on Eclipse. If you're playing like 2v2, you probably don't want Minigun on Eclipse. So, there is that to be said. The Aegis is good, and it doesn't work. It would be a massive downgrade if you put nades on Aegis. And then the Minigun Aegis, while it is good, it's really only good for CPC. Which, to be fair, If you're playing 2v2, you probably shouldn't have an Aegis at all, I suppose. Nomad Revokers is the answer to that? Okay, well, Revoker is the answer to every problem. But what if the other guy also has Revoker? You know? Like, the Revoker solution only works if you're the only one who has it. Could do Nate Aegis too. Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it. I'm a 2v2 main, but I love Aegis. 2v2 main, honestly, okay, in that case, probably Nate Eclipse would not be bad. Because I very much doubt that Minigun Eclipse does spectacularly in 2v2. Nomad Revokers is a good counter to Eclipse Revokers if you don't have Storms. Yeah, okay, well that's... Yes, but I mean, Nomad Revokers can also be a good counter to several other things, but it's as a second rate, right? Like, it's not nearly as good as it used to be. And a Vortex could tank. A Vortex with Revokers could tank a freaking Eclipse and a Nomad, probably. So, I'm just saying. How good is Mimicker? Mimicker is mid. Does a lot better than I thought it would. I mean, it's up to you. In all fairness, I don't really know exactly how to min-max for your specific enemy types, because I really don't. Like, I don't fight them, obviously. And the experience is slightly different. But I would imagine 2v2 Eclipse probably shouldn't have super heavy sustain weapons, especially if you're typically fighting with somewhat weaker mods. Mimicker's fun. I mean, that was never the question. Mimicker is very fun. But, like, its purpose is to be pretty good at everything. It's basically a legendary paragon. Its entire purpose is to have good firepower, good speed, good durability. It is pretty good at everything, but it is not particularly good at anything, and that's basically what you want in any given situation. If you're in a situation, more than likely, you know, you have a full hangar of mechs. You typically have a much better mech for the job. So, like, there's very few situations where Mimicker is actually the best option. It's good for, like, pod guns. And I think Six Cult was in here the other day saying it's also good for, like, artillery types, being, like, you know, nades, as well as the legitimate artillery that I can speak. Is Orion worth getting? Yes. And if so, what weapon would you use for him? I would use anything that does a lot of damage really quickly. Especially when you first unlock it. Orion's basically your anti-pay-to-win mech. Anyone who spent a lot of money on really strong stuff, but doesn't really know what they're doing, will fold to an Orion if you play it right. And if you have, you know, reasonable weapons on it. You can't put, like, miniguns on your Orion. Because it takes too long to deal the damage. Orion is squishy. You need to be able to take them by surprise to some degree. My drift, I'm going to look at yours. What to improve on your Deathwalker build? No, this is a build for sure. Frag 6s. Yo, what gear hub are you in? Honestly, I'll probably put like Fragment Gun 8s on, or Fragment Gun 8s or Ember Gun 8s on Deathwalker at this point, if you have it. You got your 6s there, and that's a good use of your 6s. This is not a particularly great build, but this would be much better if you had like a close quarters weapon on it, to be honest. Especially if you have Namor. If you have the Namor that deals close quarter, the Chad Namor, whatever. Super Special Boy Namor, whatever his name is. Then you could go even faster and catch up to people quicker. Nightflame, hello. Should I get Redeemer, Missile Rack 8, or Kill Shot, or Disc Launcher 8 after Panther? I would not spend 8 coins on an 8 energy weapon. Pretty much, period. I think the only one that's worth going for is Shotgun 8, and that's because it's like 300 8 coins or something like that. Every other 6 and 8 energy weapon is not worth spending 8 coins on. The Xenos Gaming, hello. Do Missile 8s work on Orion? Yeah, I mean, they should. Like I said, any good burst weapon. Missile Rack 8 is a good burst weapon. I didn't want to specifically list something, because then, you know, people might think that that's the only thing that works. But no, I mean, there's a lot of burst weapons. So, I mean, I should say any decent burst damage weapon that has reasonable range as well. So, like, it could even be freaking Javelin Rack or Helix Rack. It could be Nade Launcher. It could be Missile Rack. It could be any number of other things that you might have or might not have. Backwards to 11. Very nice. This Railgun Guardian looks great, but it needs to go. This is not going to do you any good. Graviton Gatecrasher is actually much better than I thought it would be. So if you don't have anything better, that's actually not too bad. This is good. This is probably decent. It's sort of sad that you have to use this build, but I guess it is what it is. This is not terrible. Honestly, I don't really know what you have, because you have a lot of things that I would not guess that you'd have. So it really depends on what you have access to. I'd probably replace this with Aegis, because you don't have any tanks here. Except for Bastion. Honestly, Bastion's not super tanky. It has the most, like, physical HP in the game, but the physical HP doesn't mean a whole lot. It's mostly abilities. Like, when you're talking about tankiness, it's mostly in the way of abilities. Abilities mean way more than general stats do. But yeah, get rid of the Guardian, replace it with like an Aegis. Put maybe nades on the Aegis. Nades, if you have like minigun, lower energy miniguns, I should say. Missile racks as well should work relatively well. Storm Rack. I mean, I see you have a couple things that... Yeah, probably got a couple of these things from offers, so like if you have any Storm Racks, that'd be good. I wouldn't use Disruptor, and I wouldn't use Railgun on it, so, you know, don't go for that. Do you think it's worth it to speedrun Tier 6? I mean, worth it in terms of what? Like, if your goal is to get to late game as fast as possible, then yes. I mean, I would say speedrunning is the only, you know, you should try to get there as quickly as possible. You don't really care how often you lose. I think it's worth it to speedrun into Tier 3. Just get to Tier 3 as absolutely fast as possible. Because everything before Tier 3 is inconsequential, honestly. And then... I mean, after that, just kind of feel it out. If you're enjoying the game where you're at, then just kind of, you know, take your time. No real need to speedrun things, because the game does change from like early game to mid game to late game. It does change quite a lot. Anyway, yeah. You would do well with a dash mech in here, no matter surge. I'd replace the gate crasher if anything. You could put double graviton 10s on the bastions, actually not too bad. And then put an Aegis here. Aegis or Vortex, I suppose. If you have a Vortex. Otherwise, looks pretty decent. Yet the only thing you're missing is like general tankiness as well as speed. Like if you're playing a control point mode, you're gonna lose on beacons on certain maps. All right, Dave the Fish. Should I buy Orion or save for weapons? I don't know, really. I mean, general consensus is, yes, Orion is one of the most worthwhile mechs to get, I would say, for a free-to-play player. If you're willing to buy mechs, then you probably could pass it up. You know, just getting legendary stuff at like rank 3, rank 4, and then not worry about staying in like mid-game area for too long. But considering, bruh, you know what I'm doing right now. At least you should. But yeah, considering you're using an Ember Zephyr, I would assume you'd probably do pretty well with an Orion. This I can't imagine does particularly well. This... Actually, what tier are you in? You're in tier 6. What mode do you play? Honestly, I have to ask people this. Because it very much depends. If you play CPC, mostly, or even just like at all, really. I play 5v5. Damn. Well, that's weird. Basically, everyone I know either plays CPC or 2v2. Alright, well, in that case, yes. I mean, yes, Orion's really strong in 5v5. Actually, enemies group up more in 5v5, which makes Orion slightly better, I would say. I was gonna say you really need some speed in here if you play CPC at all. But that's not really an issue, seems like. You could give Orion this scuffed build. But you don't have an Aegis, which is probably more valuable. So So at this point, I'd swap the Guardian with an Aegis. I'm actually it's actually very sad that you got to tier 6 without buying an Aegis. Unless you did, but just don't like it, I don't know. But yeah. Even with 5v5, Guardian's pretty good on some 5v5 maps. Aegis is just gonna be better, it really is. The Zephyr, I can kind of understand that now. The Zephyr's gonna be pretty good. Tengu might be decent. This Stalker might be decent. Sentinel might be decent. You could replace the Sentinel with what's it called? Aegis as well, but at least put the disc launchers on the Aegis and not this whatever scuffed build. In terms of Orion, I would get it at some point, but it's probably worth getting other mechs like Panther first. Panther is arguably stronger, even in mid-game. Killshot would be good if you played CPC, but you don't. So yeah, the Panther should probably replace your Tengu, to be honest. I definitely would not, like, I would try my best to not waste A-coins, or not waste, but like don't spend A-coins on very many weapons, especially at your stage of the game, because there's a lot of really strong mechs that you could be getting, and the weapons are decent. The weapons that are for credits, there's a lot of them that are decent, so you don't really need to invest in the A-coin ones. It's a massive A-coin sink for like a 8 or 10 energy weapon. AK-47. Do I spend on maxing Nomad or go for mods? I would max your Surge. Like, out of everything here. Maybe you're, like, significantly further away for Surge, I don't know. There's only a 1 level difference that I can tell. But Surge is, like, infinitely stronger than Nomad at this point. Well, I can't really say infinitely, it's not really that big of a gap. Nomad's still probably, like, a top 4 mech. But, Surge is top 1. So, like, definitely Surge should be first. And then after that, probably light investment in mods. I would avoid the epic hardened holes because you will replace those. Those are stand-in, and it's basically just a waste of resources. The shield and hardened hole ones, it's best not to cheap out on them. It's best to just get the legendaries. Neither of them are like particularly expensive, to be honest, so it's not a big deal. The canopy like is not you don't even need to get it, but then when it comes to galvanical, actually epic is perfectly fine for galvanical. That's what I've been doing. Well, I think to be fair, I only have like 3 galvanicals total. Because I mostly just go for hardened and perimeter. But yeah, a hardened and galvanic on this would be really good, as well as a galvanic on this. It would help you against like revoker enemies or even ember enemies. Absorb some of the overheat or weaken damage, whatever it's called now. But I would definitely go for Surge first. Surge too far away on blueprints. I mean, that's fair, but I almost don't think it's worth taking the cheaper option. Like, it's probably more worthwhile to just wait until you're slightly closer and then spend to get it. But, like, if you have your mind set on spending some amount, then yeah, maxing out Nomad would be better than getting mods, because you're not only increasing its HP and ability damage and everything, which also increases the HP that it gets from the mods, but you're also increasing its energy capacity by like a solid 20%. So that's a pretty big increase. Alter, what would be worth getting in the gear hub that or the tier that searches in? That would be tier 7, I'm pretty sure. I was gonna say Brickhouse's credits, but yeah, you already have Brickhouse, fair enough. Nice lineup, honestly. Orion, Surge, Aegis, Vortex. Brickhouse is the only one that you're missing, or the only one that you want to replace. And that's honestly fine, because the only other mech that's really worth getting is Eclipse. Eclipse is like top 2 at this point. Like Surge being the top 1 best mech, and then Eclipse being the second best. So swapping Brickhouse with Eclipse would be a massive increase to your overall performance, I would say. Your mech ranks are kind of all over the place. I would be careful getting some of your mechs too far ahead of the rest, because it means that matchmaking's going to start. They're going to start putting you up against enemies that match this build, while all of the rest of yours don't match that build, right? Like I see enemies in my matches where they have this one build that's maxed out. I literally fought like this guy yesterday or the day before. I don't remember. There was a dude with a maxed out Lancer. It was the only thing in his hangar that he had maxed. He had a maxed Lancer with maxed Javelin racks, I'm pretty sure. Obviously he spent a bit to get there. He was a relatively new player. But the point is, I ended up fighting him because he had a maxed mech with maxed weapons, and matchmaking was like, he's got maxed stuff, so we should put him against people with maxed stuff. It's part of their effort to make sure that people don't tank, which I feel like has been slightly more successful lately, but I don't think they're really getting to the root of the problem. But that's, it's a different story for a different time. In terms of this 16, this is... Honestly, I might put the Cryos on Vortex. Cryo is probably better than Disruptor. On Vortex, I mean. Now, I wouldn't necessarily know, because it kind of depends on your SP as well. You probably don't fight very strong mod shields, if any. But also, these are Disruptor 6s, so like they're not doing that much damage. I was pretty pleased with the Cryo Launcher's performance on, like at max anyway, versus like very, very hench bots. This was before they nerfed the bots, by the way. Like they nerfed the mods, and it was doing pretty well. So yeah. I would replace the Chungus with Eclipse. Very sad. Rest in peace, Chungus. How do I get that Redux skin? So there's a lot of skins that like you just can't get anymore. They're not technically available, and the only way to get them would be by basically winning community events in like Discord and I think Facebook, possibly. To the ones that where they say, you know, any legendary skin of your choice. Hey, Meteorite, much appreciated, sir. Please tell me how I get that Redux skin. Okay. Well, I was saying it before, but you know what? We'll take it. But anyway, yeah. So the way... Actually, how did I get it? I got it kind of a while ago. I think I got it from the creator program that I'm in. So like every now and again, they'll let me as a official content creator, they'll let me get a couple legendary skins as like part of like my weekly, you know, weekly rewards, whatever. They'll let me get some skins instead of my normal stuff, which I'm not allowed to tell you exactly what my normal stuff is. But yeah, enough said. Technically, you could get it, but it would have to be from one of those like crazy events. Actually, I don't know when the last one was. Does anyone know? The last one that I remember was Mech Arena Community Cup. I think. Like the season 2. There was one that I participated in, which was like a challenge for Tengu, which I ended up finishing. It took forever. I ended up doing it on stream, and it took forever. And I did finish that one, and I got the Skullface skin for Shadow. So that was nice. Anyway, in terms of the Hangar. This build is pretty decent. I mean, it's not the best. Viper's very tricky to use, honestly. I would replace the Sentinel with an Aegis. Aegis is infinitely better, even though Aegis is in tier 5 and Sentinel's in tier 6. You'd think Sentinel's better, but it's really not. Aegis is like a top 10 mech. Sentinel's like a bottom 5 mech or something, I don't know. Something, it, you know, not quite that, but it's kind of close, honestly. I don't know what mode you play, but I very much doubt the Zephyr does fantastic. This build's kind of scuffed. Putting an Aegis instead of Sentinel. Actually, you might even want to put the Vipers on Aegis and then the chain guns on Bastion, because I think that would be slightly better. This build is not bad. I would not use Disc Launcher 12, though. Even like a Javelin Rack 8 would probably be better than this, to be honest. Because it forces you to kind of... It forces you to go out of your way to sort of peek out or put yourself closer to danger than you probably need to, just to be able to use it, because it homes in sideways as opposed to like going up and down. You'd be better off with like a nade launcher of some kind, or like I said, like a Javelin 8. Assume you have 24, yeah. But I think Helix, wait a second. Helix Rack 8 is credits, I'm pretty sure. But what about the... I think 16 is as well. Helix 8 is credits, yeah. Helix 10 is 8 coins, that's not worth it. Helix 12 is 8 coins, that's not worth it. Helix 16 is credits, though, and Helix Rack is much better than Javelin Rack. So that would be an upgrade for you. And like a not super expensive one at that. In terms of this Zephyr, I would put either Orion or Surge in to replace it. I mean, Surge or Eclipse, if you have it, or if you can get it. Obviously, those are better. Those are like the top 2 mechs. But if you already have an Orion, then I would just go for that, because that's going to be better. Probably not with fragment guns, though. If it's Surgery Eclipse, the frags will probably do really good. If it is... If it's like an Orion, you should probably put like the Vipers on the Orion and then the frags on Bastion. Because you'd want to get close with Bastion anyway, since you know your shield is a close range ability to like EMP people, and that's really nice. If you play CPC at all, then you definitely want a dash mech. Or Eclipse, one of the two. Or both. Ideally both. I would get rid of this for an Aegis. I would, honestly, I'd recommend removing the Redux because it's not very good, but I'm assuming you really like your Redux. In which case, I would say replace the Bastion, probably. And the Zephyr for, like, Surge and Eclipse. Top Gun. What else mechs and weapons do you recommend for the ultimate torture hangar? Oh dear. Okay. I see. So, minigun, fragment gun, ember gun, and nade launcher. I would honestly say none of those are particularly like torturous. In terms of the mechs, the only one that's not super torturous is Eclipse. I'd say you'd be better off with a Solus or Orion. And then in terms of weapons, like freaking Disruptor and Pod Gun are terrifying. Because, like, a lot of the times you see it or you get hit by it, you know, in the case of Pod Gun, you get hit by it. And so, like, you know that you're screwed, and you just have to wait to die because there's nothing you can do about it. And that's just funny. But that's only if you have those weapons. I usually play 2v2. I'll be getting Surge soon, and yes, I'm in love with my Redux. I hear Redux actually does pretty good in 2v2. Yeah, in that case, the Bastion probably does pretty decently. But the Scorpius probably doesn't work at all. Because you had like the Javelin / Disc Launcher Scorpius. That's probably like borderline unusable in 2v2. So I would definitely get rid of that. When I see like a Javelin / Helix build, I usually just assume people play CPC. Or possibly 5v5. Because it's a very common build to see in CPC hangars. It's not bad either, actually. Like, it does work. Night Flame, Gear Hub Tier 7. Hangar mostly made for 2v2. Please tell me what I should be doing for enhancing. Okay. I mean, obviously, Eclipse would be better than Bastion. All of these mechs are really good for 2v2. The only one the only one that's kind of weak is the Bastion. With the chain gun as well. Actually, chain gun would be kind of decent for Eclipse. It's like a stand-in minigun. And then Stormax here, that's good. A Revoker here, Ember here. This probably should be, ideally, you'd want this to be like an Ember gun as well. Possibly a Stormrack. but like a minigun slash chain gun thing is pretty good. This is mostly like this is mostly ideal for like a CPC type situation, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, it looks good. The only thing I would say is like the Stormrack 8s are kind of, it's a risky investment because once you start ranking up your Hemlock, you're now not going to have any Stormrack 8s. So you're either going to have like a really weak Stormrack build with a rank 6 Hemlock, because you're only filling 16 of the energy, or you'd be forced to like you'd be forced to buy the Stormrack 10 or Stormrack 12. I would recommend the 12 personally if you're going to go for either of them, because then you could do a 12 and 8 on both the Hemlock and the Vortex. But yeah, so that's probably not going to last you like a super long time. This is fine. You can get Ember 12 for 8 coins, so that's not bad. Yeah, this Bastion's kind of the only thing that needs to go. And it's probably not that bad. It's just like Eclipse would be significantly better. Trying to get Stormrack 12 once I rank up Hemlock. Yeah, that makes sense. That is what I would go for. Oh, here's a good question. I'm good at 2v2, but my CPC Hangar doesn't do well. What should I change? Now, this should be right up my alley. The thing is, which of these is your CPC Hangar? Is it this one? I'm gonna guess that it's this one because it has the Helix and the Sniper build. Most people don't use those in 2v2. So this is really good. But if I'm being honest, even though it's only a rare weapon, you're probably better off with Fragment Gun 8s on Surge. Close quarters on Surge is just ridiculously effective. The issue with Missile Rack is that you have one salvo, and then if you don't kill them, you have like a, you got like a couple seconds to try to run away and reload while they come after you, and you just finished EMPing them, so like you're right there. It's going to be really easy for them to chase you down and kill you depending on what they have. The second one's a Zephyr achievement. Okay. Does that mean this is... I mean, does that mean this is both? Is this also your CPC Hangar? You do clearly have Ember Gun 8s. I wouldn't know why you're not using Ember Gun 8s on this Hangar, unless this is like an achievement as well, but... In terms of the Orion with Missile Rack would actually be really good. Because you could do a lot of damage, as opposed to Surge, where it's like, if you don't kill them, then you're kind of stuck. The Orion, I mean, first of all, it's going to be really unlikely that you won't kill them. If you hit them with all the rockets, they're probably dead if you marked them. But even if they're not, then, you marked them from a distance, so you're kind of chilling. You have time. And the reload of the weapon kind of matches the reload of the abilities, that's fine. This is presumably an achievement, so it's not a big deal. What do you have in here? Yeah, the Guardian and the... Oof. Yeah, this is... I'm not really surprised that you're stuck with like a weird scuffed build, Though you could probably go for like a Quantum Gun 8 along with the Graviton 10. Because a Quantum Gun 8 has better reach, as well as the fact that it can slow enemies down so that you can get more implosions off, as well as weaken them, which means your implosions will do more damage. So that's probably a better pairing after putting the missile racks on that. And then in terms of this, I saw you had some fragment guns on it here. It's not a terrible idea. This is 20 energy. Nade 10, cryo 10. That's what you have here as well. This might be fine, honestly. As far as builds go, this is probably better than fragment gun on CPC anyway. The bots I get are usually 5-star. So I can't normally kill them with embers and CPC, so I use missile rack. We'll rank your embers. That surprises me, honestly. Damage per magazine, 30,000. Damage per magazine, 8,000. But that's with the first shot. The second shot deals overheat damage. So it's actually like... $10,000. But you could probably, I don't know, you could probably unload like 2-3 mags. I mean, the total DPS should be higher on Ember Gun, even during the EMP duration. But I mean, if it works better, then it works better. I would still probably put the Quantum Gun with the Graviton on Panther. And not on Orion. Orion, like, your goal for Orion is to do damage as quickly as possible. So that's not going to do very well. If you have, like, a... I suppose Disc Launcher Orion's not terrible, because you can at least do damage from behind cover. You can, like, curve it and whatever. So, I mean, Disc Launcher, it'd be definitely better than Quantum Gun anyway. This is an achievement. I mean, you shouldn't really be surprised that you're doing worse if you're using achievement builds. But then this is decent. Yeah, a lot of it is also mismatched pilots, right? It's like you have a guided pilot on here, which, like, I'm actually not even sure why, because this is an epic guided pilot that does it do more? 17 and 29. Okay, well, almost, yeah, no, it doesn't quite do more, just slightly less. Never mind. Yeah, so this is mismatched. This is mismatched. And those are both your epics as well, so like the only ones that you got. Also, don't rank up your rare pilots. Once you get to rank 4, just stop. There's no reason to get it past rank 4. The reason getting it to rank 4 is worth it is because I think it costs like, what, 250 pilot marks? That's still really cheap. And as well as the difference between rank 3 and rank 4 is huge. Like, you double your damage bonus, right? Because it goes up by 1%, and then by 1.4%, and then you basically double it, so it's another, like, 8%. And then it goes, you know, once again, it goes up by, like, 2%, and then, like, 3%. And then it doesn't get another big bonus until it's maxed out. So, you're better off using those pilot marks on epic pilots, getting it to rank 4 is the ideal spot. And then after that, you're basically just wasting your pilot marks. Because eventually you'll get more epic pilots, eventually you'll get legendary pilots, and you simply will not have pilot marks. There has not been a new pilot in quite a while. I've been stashing all of my pilot marks for a very long time. And I still don't, like, I still only have enough to max, like, one pilot. One legendary pilot, I should say. Because it costs so much. It's very expensive. Pilot marks are incredibly rare currency, and you really can't get them from anywhere except the daily tasks. So don't take that terribly lightly. But yeah, I mean, in terms of CPC, I'd probably swap this with like an Aegis. In most cases, yeah, I wasn't really looking super hard. In most cases, there's really no... I don't think there's really any scenario in which you don't want at least one tank. Aegis is probably the best tank for CPC. And considering your Guardian is pretty weak, I wouldn't go for it. Even if you're just using freaking Ember Guns on Aegis. It might sound like a sort of scuffed build and pretty niched, but especially in like 3 beacon maps where the center beacon is like absolutely crucial, dropping an Ember Gun Aegis in the middle would be absolutely life-saving. So that's going to do you a lot better than basically any of these other builds would in certain situations. The Zephyr, obviously. I would swap the Zephyr out, but I know it's an achievement build. Anima, hello. Doing hair reviews live? Yeah. That's how I normally do them. I mean, nowadays, anyway. Chris, planning Aegis minigun if pilot is upgraded and surge upgraded to 20 energy with Revoker Ember. First Hangar is other stuff I have, mostly CPC support team. Okay, yeah, random stuff. So minigun Aegis, that's good. Stormwreck Panther. 12 and 8. Eventually you'll be able to put... Wait a second. Oh. I'm assuming you're using a 12 and an 8 because you don't want to fight stronger enemies, because you could be using double 12s. You have 2 of them since it's rank 6. You could be using double 12s on Panther and then double 8s on Aegis, and that would work really well. Minigun Aegis is also good, in which case you could put this Stormrex on like Surge or Nomad. Probably Surge. Stormwreck Surge works a bit better than Nomad. And then just get rid of the nades entirely, as well as the disc launcher. If you're intent on keeping it this way, if I do double 12, I get 10k bonus. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. And this is why I tell people don't max out. Like, don't mega upgrade one thing. Even just having like a rank 6 mech along with a rank 4 mech, if you get rank 6 enemies, then your rank 4 enemies really just aren't able to keep up. And I'm pretty, the matchmaking wants to do that too, right? If it sees that you have a maxed out build, they want to make sure that you're put with maxed out enemies to keep people from tanking, obviously. Because they don't want people to have like one maxed out build and then everything else weak. And then just go by the SP. But yeah, in this case, that kind of makes sense. You could use a 12 and an 8 later on with an Aegis, and that's probably fine. And for now, minigun would be a good option. This probably works half decently, but Ember. I would say, I mean, honestly, like, what would you get though, right? Would you get like minigun 8? Because it's probably not going to be worth it. Because you're then immediately going to have to replace the minigun 8s with something, unless you get like an 8 and a 12 to be able to use it at 20 energy when it's rank 6, and then double 12s when it's maxed out. I would probably, like, because you definitely need to start thinking about, oh, you have the 16. Yeah, see, that's going to be a weird one, because, like, as soon as you rank up your, like, let's say you rank up your Aegis to rank 6, because it's not going to stay rank 4 forever, right? Let's assume you rank it up to rank 6. Then you have a 20 energy mech with 16 energy weapon. Like, what do you do with it after that? You know? So, like, you need to start thinking about what kind of builds do you want when you max out these mechs? Or even when you get them to rank 6, because, I mean, you have a maxed Panther, so you probably already know. It takes a lot of effort to get something from rank 6 to max, so a lot of them will stay at rank 6 with 20 energy before you max them out. And that's fine, but you need to start preparing, you know? Like, you need to start thinking, like, okay, what do I need to get? Ember Gun 12 would be a good one. I would start ranking up the Surge, because Surge is kind of the best mech in the game. And it probably should be it should be at least rank 6 if you have like a maxed out Panther. The Surge will help a lot. The Nomad and the Aegis can kind of take the back. Like, they can kind of take the back of the line for now. I would focus on Surge. But yeah, like, keep in mind all stages of the game. Like, you need to make sure that you have you're gonna have a decent build that you can use for the mechs when they're 16 energy, when they're 20 energy. I know, like, when it's rank 5, it has 18 energy, but that's honestly not a big difference from 16, so you can use double 8s on a 18 energy mech. It doesn't really make a difference. Like, that's fine. But mostly, like, 16 energy, 20 energy, and 24 energy. So, like, when it's maxed out. Those are all things that you kind of need to keep, like, in the back of your mind, and sort of let those things guide your decisions in terms of what weapons you buy. That way you're wasting the least amount of resources possible. Otherwise, I mean, it's a good hangar otherwise. Like, you have 3 of the 4 strongest mechs in the game, honestly. And then this is, like, you know, maybe top 7, top 10 at very least. This is probably top 10 as well. So, like, they're all really strong. You just kind of need to figure out what weapons you want to go for and start planning for, like, certain energies to make sure that, I mean, like I said, to make sure that you're not wasting a bunch of resources getting multiple of the same weapon of just, like, different energies. In the case of that Aegis, you have the minigun 16. It would have been more cost effective to get the 8 and then get the 12, because then double 8s will fill you for 16. It'll be adequate while it's rank 5 and it has 18. It'll you then get the 12 when you get it to 20 energy, and then you have an 8 and a 12. That's 20 energy until you max it. Then you'll have that 12. That 12 will, you know, you'll already have the 12 there. You can use the double 12s. And so that's only 2 weapons that you need to get, as opposed to any number of other things that you might need to get. Because, you know, If you have the 16 it'll work for now, and when it's rank 5, it'll also work. But then when it's 20 energy, you'd probably need to get either the 10 to duplicate it, or you'd need to get the 8 and the 12 anyway. And so the 16 becomes completely redundant. And, you know, what's done is done for sure, and you could probably use the minigun 16 on something else. But just in general, things like that, keeping that in the back of your mind helps to reduce the amount of resources that you spend. Gear Hub Tier 6, I'm planning to remove Chungus. Oh no. Sacrilege. You're replaced with Orion Quantum Guns. Do Revoker's Deathwalker. What do you mean, do Revoker Deathwalker? As in, I should use Revoker Deathwalker? Anyway. These builds might actually be stronger if you swapped them. If I'm being honest. If you have not tried it, I would at least try it. Oh, actually, I didn't realize this was the 8s. Oh, those are 10s, that's nice. So ideally, probably what you want is probably Disc Launcher on Vortex and Ember Gun on Nomad. Replacing this with Orion is a good idea. I do not necessarily think Quantum Gun is the weapon to use on it, though. Because like I was saying before, what you want on Orion is something that deals a lot of damage really quickly. Because they're going to be... the Hunter's Mark lasts like 10 seconds. It's a very long time. But they'll be in stasis for 3 seconds. After that, they can run away and do whatever. But if you can get them while they're in stasis, especially, that's going to be a really, really good counter to like pay-to-win players who spent a lot of money, but you know, they're not necessarily very good. I'm sure you've ran into plenty of them. Orion with high DPS weapon, high burst DPS weapons from decent distance will be able to take care of those kinds of people very quickly. Because they won't know how to counter it, really. And it's basically just a raw DPS. It's just a way to kind of level the playing field, right? Because in a lot of cases, you know, the pay-to-win people, in a lot of cases, they have a lot more firepower than you. They have a lot more HP than you. But if you mark them with a Hunter's Mark, honestly, everything, like, all their HP kind of goes to crap. You now have firepower for days. So, you know, it levels the playing field to a large extent. So in that regard, Missile Rack would be one of the more ideal weapons, but that costs 8 coins, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend getting it. I don't know. Like, maybe Disc Launcher 8s? They don't really do damage quite fast enough for my liking. Want to know what else is sacrilege? Mechs, Killshot. No, just owning Killshot in general. I mean, come on. Doesn't even need to be max, just needs to exist. Let me see. Did he say what Gear Hub tier he's in? Gear Hub tier 6, yeah, okay. So you're right here. I mean, Helix Rack 8 is also a good one. It's like, a lot of people will call it a no-skill weapon, which it kind of is. but it is the type of thing that's able to deal with noobs. Yeah, it's able to deal with noobs pretty easily. Like, even if they have really strong stuff. It's the type of weapon that can deal with noobs pretty easily. Disc launcher. Yeah, I don't really think there's any other, like, 8 energy weapon that's worth investing in. Because Disruptor 10 is 8 coins, even if the 6 is credits. Using double 6s definitely isn't going to work very well. All this other stuff is, like, either behind a paywall or kind of crap. So until you get to, like, tier 7, where, like, Cryo Launcher 16 might be pretty decent, Helix Rec 16, what else? Disruptor 12. Disruptor Orion's not half bad. Missile Rack 16. Actually, Missile Rack 16 is a good weapon to get. Because you could use it as a single. You could use it as just a 16, but then you could put it with an 8 and use it as a 24 as well. Well, I mean, no, the 8 costs 8 coins, so maybe not. Still not bad, though. Yeah, or like, I mean, your Knee Launcher 10 was already kind of occupied. Kind of in those tiers, it's like there's not a lot of great options, to be honest. Because most things cost 8 coins in those tiers. And so, like, if you want to avoid spending 8 coins, then you kind of have to buy crap. But Helix Rec is a pretty good option. The 8s are nice, as well as the fact that later on you'll get the 16. And then if you ever have, like, you know, if you ever want to use, like, an 8 and 16 combo on something just, like, incredibly toxic, you can do that, and it won't even cost you 8 coins. Some of the hate towards Killshot should go to Surge and Nomad. I mean, it's not that I don't dislike them. Why do you... why do you think I literally never use those? It's not in this hangar. This is me messing around. It's not in this hangar. This is me messing around. This hangar, I literally... The last time I used this was in the anniversary tournament. Like, this is literally just my competitive hangar. And I just have it here just for the sake of argument. I'd never use it. But yeah. I just, in general, I despise Dash Mechs. I think all of them are lame. Slingshot is at least funny. When you get to late game, Slingshot's very funny. But that's kind of it. Dano, good morning. Which mech in general is better for close quarters, Surge or Nomad? I would say Surge. I mean, it kind of depends. Because, like, it sort of depends on the context of the question. If you're asking, like, which mech is better in general in close quarter situations, I mean, Surge is just better in general in all situations. They both have, relatively similar situation. So yeah, Surge is generally better. But then, like, let's say you have, like, a missile rack and an Ember gun, and then you have Surge and Nomad. You're not going to put missile rack on Nomad. That's a bad idea. In that case, it would be better to put the missile rack on Surge and the, like, Ember and the actual close quarters weapon on Nomad. But that's just because of, like, the way that the abilities work. So, like, sort of it depends on the context of the question, but in general, Surge is better. Surge in general don't need damage resistance if they can't shoot back, yeah. See, like, the difference between Surge and Nomad is, like, Nomad reduces the damage that it takes by quite a lot. Surge straight up prevents enemies from dealing damage. So Surge, so long as it's not being used, like, so long as you're using it correctly, Surge is infinitely better. Because it just straight up prevents people from dealing damage. Period. You're not even taking damage. Nomad will eventually get whittled down, Like, it takes small amounts of damage on each engagement. Even if it kills something really fast, it takes a little bit of damage each time. So it will slowly get chipped down and die. The Surge won't necessarily. I really think Helix is a waste of money. Maybe it's just me, but sitting behind half the game while doing nothing basically frustrates me. I mean, that's a preference, right? And I don't disagree with that. As you can tell, I pretty much never use Helix. I don't even have my fuse mortars duplicated. I think it's the only weapon that I don't have duplicated. Well, no, I also don't have Javelin Rack, but that's because Helix kind of replaced it. I think I don't even have my Helix Rack implants upgraded. Let me check. Yeah, damage, reload, range, they're all level 1. I never bothered upgrading them because I never used them. But that's like a playstyle thing. If we're talking strictly about how can you win, like how can you be the most likely to win, Helix is a good weapon to have if you play CPC a lot. Especially if you're a free-to-play player. And you're very limited on options. After max... Hold on. After max Eclipse, should I max one of the mechs shown? See third hangar. To replace one of my current ones, or dual Storm 16 build. I usually play 2v2, but I also play CPC. Autokin Deathwalker is kind of OP. It would have to be Deathwalker. In terms of, like, what the strongest mechs are, I would say the order of, like, the top 5 strongest mechs is, like, Surge, Eclipse, and then Deathwalker, and then Nomad, and then possibly Vortex. But it kind of depends on the situation. But I would say Deathwalker is probably better than Nomad at this point, though not quite as good as Surge and Eclipse. But still, like, what I'm saying is it's a top 3 mech, so I would definitely go for that first, yeah. In terms of, like, which one you should do... Yeah, like, Stormrack Deathwalker is really good. I think Platinum would probably know more than me, but I think Revoker Deathwalker's better than Stormrack Deathwalker, but I don't know. It also might change between 2v2 and CPC, to be fair. Thanos. Going for a full medium mech hangar, and I plan on getting Lace Wing. All my 10 energy weapons are displayed. Okay. What do you think I should replace my main hangar, and what weapons would you swap? Okay. Wait, are you sure this is the right ID? I get the impression this is not the right ID. I copy-pasted, by the way. think Hemlock is a hard counter to Deathwalker, isn't he? If it's like a 1v1, 2v2 situation, yes, absolutely. But the thing is, like, somebody will trigger the Hemlock daze. More often than not, somebody will trigger it within the first, like, 3 seconds. Even if it's players that you're dealing with. Almost always someone or something is going to just randomly hit it, deal damage, and trigger the daze, and you're out of it pretty quickly. And what was the other thing I was thinking of? As well as, like, the Hemlock has to pretty consistently have you in its sights, right? Like, it has to constantly poke out and reapply the ability every few seconds, which puts it in some danger. Like, yes, it is technically a counter, but, like, it's a counter in the same way that, like, Guardian is a counter. It sounds a lot easier than it is, right? Them bots do be messing up the days. Yeah, I mean, especially bots. Especially bots, they'll always trigger the days. Seeker gives you a chance to take out any campers EM here, like Sir. This is true. Seeker is a really good one, but I think it fell from the top 5 since mods, to be honest. Like, it seemed to be less effective. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Oh, I was waiting for him to reply, but he already replied. I missed it. Here we go. Okay, these are his 10 energy weapons. Now, what did he say before? Plans on getting Lace Wing. Okay. What weapons did you swap in the main hangar? Okay. These... I mean, I would get rid of the Orion. I would probably put the Starmark on Vortex and the minigun on Eclipse. And then, in terms of the last slot, kind of depends on what mode you play. Because, like, Aegis would be really good if you play CPC. If you play, like, 2v2, then actually I think Lacewing would be probably the most ideal. Because it's really, really difficult to hit a Lacewing in 2v2. And I say in 2v2 because just, like, you know, there's only 2 people that are able to even shoot at you. And the chances that they have a weapon that's able to hit you very easily while you're jumping is pretty slim. Out of all the weapons, nade's definitely the best. Hemlock is a really... I mean, if for general use, I would go with either Aegis or Hemlock, probably both with nades. Or you could put nades on Eclipse or Vortex and put the Storm Rack or Minigun on Aegis. Or the Storm Rack on Hemlock. Kind of depends on what you think, or like what you prefer. But yeah, Disruptor Orion's definitely your weakest link here. Would matchmaking think you tanking if you use all 3-star mechs? Just got a 3-star Deathwalker deal, but no A coins to rank it up, and I want to play with it already. I mean, you could always try, I don't know. From what I hear, normally, if you run a full hangar of, like, relatively equally strong stuff, then it usually puts you against enemies that are about that strength. The main thing, like, the main discrepancy happens when you have, like, one build that's really strong. And then it's like, hold on, this guy's got a really strong build. We should probably put him up against enemies that are really strong. Right. But yeah. I wouldn't really know, because I don't really do that, obviously. How do I acquire graviton beam weapon parts? As in blueprints? You gotta just open crates, get lucky, honestly. It takes a very long time to get blueprints. So, like, if you play on mobile and there's ads, definitely watch those ads, because then you get some pretty decent sized crates. Those crates are pretty good value. Otherwise, yeah, just like finish daily stuff. Finish as many tasks as you can. Most events give you something really lame, like an amateur crate, which is not very helpful for most things, but it does get you blueprints. Anyway, Benji, my graviton beams are level 4. I'm currently in tier 7. I assume he means... Wait, do you mean level 4 or rank 4? I assume he means level 4. You have a 20 energy panther here. Duplicating the graviton 10 pretty much as quickly as possible is really going to help. I would get rid of the stalker, keep the Orion, keep the surge, replace this with an Aegis. Sentinel is pretty much right out of the box. It's immediately worse than everything that you should already have. So, in general, the only value for Sentinel is, hey, I'm getting this thing, and it only costs credits as opposed to me having to waste A coins on it. And it gets me tier stars to unlock tier 7. That's basically the only reason that you even buy Sentinel. Everything else is kind of pointless. So, Aegis here, probably with the disc launcher. The missile racks on Orion. The nade launchers on Panther. Possibly even Stalker, actually. Because nades have great damage and you don't really need to expose yourself. Stalker boosts your damage, which is good, as well as the fact that Quantum Gun, like, Stalker's, like, super weak. It's super brittle, so it will die. That's why you have a freaking blockade on here, is to keep it from immediately dying. Which will happen, especially if you're using, like, a weapon like Quantum Gun that takes, like, 10-12 seconds to fully unload. So putting the Quantum Guns on Panther would probably be better. Ideally, though, you'd want to, like, get your Graviton 10 to rank 6 to duplicate it, immediately put double Graviton 10s on Panther. This is what Scape did in his free-to-play account. Because then after this, he was able to put double Graviton 10s on, like, Eclipse after he got it. So then he didn't have to waste, he didn't have to buy, like, chain guns, he didn't have to do anything weird. Like, you could put the Gravitons on Eclipse when it was rank 6, and that was a really good build. So, yeah, it's probably... But until it's rank 6, I'd probably put the Quantum Guns on there. The Disc Launcher on Aegis. to replace this, the missile rack, on Orion, and then the nade launcher on Stalker. Nade launcher and missile rack are basically the same on Orion, but I think nades would be much better on Stalker than missile rack would. But you can, these are two very, very similar mechs. They're both mechs that are kind of squishy, but they boost your damage output. So you put, high burst damage weapons on that have reasonably decent range. So you can, yeah, they're very similar. So you could put missile rack on one, nades on the other, whichever one you think works better. Nascape still duplicated those stupid chain 10s, yeah. Well, that was for, like, Aegis, though, wasn't it? Not a bad decision, really. My point was just that, like, even after... My point was basically just that Panther outgrows the Graviton 10s relatively quickly. But even after it outgrows it, there's still other mechs later down the line that would make really good use out of double Graviton 10s. So, it's good to have them. The chain guns, you could kind of go either way. Like, you don't necessarily need it. But yeah, that's what I'd say for you. He's using chains on Panther. Oh, instead of the... Okay. I don't remember what he used anymore. I feel like it changes every time. MIB, check my hangar for... Didn't I have to check yours? No, I don't think so. I thought it did. Gonna switch out the Guardian for an Orion. I'm in tier 6. Okay. You have the Aegis. That's great. The Killshot and Panther are both great. This is gonna be replaced with Orion. That's also great. Yeah, if you have Sentinel, then don't use it. Like, it's already worse than Zephyr. This is a good build. This would be better if it was Orion, so that's a good decision. That's a good build. This is kind of scuffed. I would try to get, like... Getting Graviton 10 at this point would still be a pretty good idea. Now, maybe you don't use it, because this is a decent pairing here. Maybe you don't use it until you're able to get it to rank 6. So maybe you just hold on to it for a while. But once you get it to rank 6, then you can use those on Panther, and that'd be pretty good. Otherwise, I mean, maybe a single Graviton and a Cryo Launcher to kind of slow them down might work, but I kind of feel like this pairing would do slightly better. But yeah, not a bad idea. The Zephyr should definitely be replaced at some point. I would say it's useful enough, probably, to where you could keep it until you, and just immediately replace it with Surge. Once you get to tier 7, and you buy Surge, just replace the Zephyr. But, like, it could probably stay here for now. It'll be weak. It'll be, like, probably your weakest build. But it's not so bad that it's unusable. And I don't really think that there's anything better. in previous tiers, to be honest. You could use Guardian, but Guardian's kind of a bit more hit or miss than Zephyr, in my opinion. Ember Gun is OP. Oh yeah, that's for sure. My Aegis is 16 energy, but I just used 12,000 A-coins for the Bastion event. Damn. Rest in peace, A-coins. Actually, how many blueprints did that give? I think it gave quite a few. I wasn't like a huge fan of that event because it charged you like a 3,000 A-coin markup. Because you can normally buy Bastion for like 9,000 A-coins. But it charged you 12 to get like the Bastion plus a bunch of credits and a bunch of blueprints, I think. But then you still need to rank it up, so that's more A-coins down the drain. I don't know if it was necessarily worth 12,000 entirely. I'm sure it was. Technically, it was technically above value. Usually they are. But I don't think it was like that high above value. Rustum, tier 6. But what? 12-star for tier 7. Unique Graviton 10, Sentinel, Voltaic RPG 14, okay. Then I don't know, Eclipse or Surge, also Disruptor 12. I have 2,000 A-coins and 3.5 million credits, okay. I am highly surprised that your hangar is only 4 KSP when it looks like this. Honestly, like, this is a good looking hangar in terms of like, maybe it's the shotgun 8s, I don't know. But you have like, you have a lot of good pilots. Seemingly some decent, oh. Uh-oh. Okay, yeah, that's probably why you have like 0 implants on anything. That's probably why. I was gonna say, I would expect this hangar to be like at least 6k. But I think the shotgun 8 and the no implants. I would replace this with Fragment Gun 8 at very least. Because there's kind of no reason to be using Shotgun 8 when Fragment Gun 8 exists. Hold on. I think Fragment Gun 8's credits, isn't it? Maybe it's not. Let me check real quick. I don't want to say that before. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it's it's stupid cheap. So not only is Fragment Gun 8 stupid cheap, but it's also, it has more ammo, it has a quicker reload time, and it has just way more damage than Shotgun. So right out the box, it'll just be doing way better. I think like my rank 4 Fragment Gun 8s do better than my maxed Shotgun 8s. I have maxed Shotgun 8s, yes. I maxed them before the grade update. So like, yeah, Fragment Gun does like way better than Shotgun. So that would be just an easy upgrade from this, and it wouldn't cost you barely anything. In terms of Graviton 10, that's... honestly, it's a good idea. These EM rifles are probably not super effective. Especially against players, because players are going to be using multi-layered mods, most likely. Even if they're low level, it'd still take you like 3 to 4 shots to get through it, which is a pain in the butt. It'd be much better to use these double 10s on Orion once you get it to rank 6, which might be a while. But that's fine. EM Rifle Orion's actually still very strong. And then the Graviton will be able to clean up a lot of stuff, because it has just like really, really good uptime. It can make good use of the ability, duration. The missile racks on Zephyr's not bad. The disc launcher on Orion's not bad. I kind of wonder if you should do it the other way around. But at this point, what I would do is probably swap the Guardian for an Aegis. Well, you said you were in... Yeah, you said you're in tier 6. So if you don't already have Aegis, then you definitely should get it. It's one of the strongest mechs that you can buy for Aquins. It's, yeah, very, very good. You could replace Zephyr or you could replace Guardian. It's kind of up to you, but I would probably replace Guardian. And then I'd probably put the disc launcher on the Aegis. The missile rack on Orion. Let Zephyr just have a scuffed build of whatever is left, because Zephyr's just it's gonna be a weak mech anyway. My guess is right now, even where you're at, Zephyr's probably already just it's probably one of your last picks. It's probably one of your weakest, even with your shotguns. I doubt this does very well. But yeah, disc launcher, what's it called? Aegis works really well. Missile rack should work much better on Orion than disc launcher. Obviously, the fragment guns on kill shots, just an easy upgrade. Well, Ember gun aids as well, actually. It costs a bit more, so I suppose it's sort of up to whether or not you want to spend the credits on it. Fragment guns would be much easier, or I guess much cheaper, but Ember gun would be even better. And then, like, I think Cryo Launcher 6 is for credits, so you could do like a Nade 10 and Cryo 6 on Zephyr. Some weird scuffed thing. And then leave this how it is for now. Otherwise not bad, but like, not having anything tanky is really going to make it so that you can't do certain things that you might need to do. It's really useful to have a tank. Especially one that's able to like hold a position. Like a key position. Aegis is basically pseudo-legendary like Panther or Orion. I agree with that. And I'm very happy with the performance of Aegis and Panther and Orion. I used to be like it used to really upset me that Panther did so stupidly well for an epic mech. And it's still arguably a top 10. But I feel like it's not quite as ridiculous, or at least it doesn't bother me as much, just because of like other things that have been added. But I think it's great that there are extremely strong, like, actual meta mechs that are available for relatively cheap. And I think that should always be the case. If they ever like nerf any of the really strong epic mechs, I would be very upset. Alex, please don't spam. How good would Disruptor 12 be on Deathwalker? I don't think very good at all. It's high single shot damage, but then after that, it's not really anything. Disruptor's more of a campy weapon at this point. I mean, it kind of always has been. He said Eclipse or minigun. I mean, I would go for Eclipse first. You can always use chain guns, gravitons, whatever. for the most part, getting the, I mean, Eclipse is the top 2 mech, right? So Eclipse would be the better purchase. Similar to Surge, it can make basic. It can make any bad weapon work. So it doesn't really matter so much the weapon that you have on it. You get the weapons after you get the mechs for the most part. And I would replace the Sentinel as well. Redeemer's probably better than Sentinel at this point. I mean, put these weapons on Sentinel, because a chain gun Redeemer is a really bad idea. What you want on Redeemer is like a burst damage type thing, where you can get out a bunch of damage really quickly and then like backtrack back into safety, as opposed to having to be out in the open in order, like, for a long length of time in order to deal any actual damage. Some mechs can pull that off, like Panther and Aegis, but Redeemer is not one of them. But yeah. Put the replace the Eclipse, or replace the Sentinel with Eclipse. Put the chain guns on it. Put these on Redeemer, and you'd be kind of chilling. Like, you'd have a really good lineup. Surge, Aegis, Eclipse, and Panther is like the start of like an incredibly good hangar. The only mech that I would get after that is like maybe Orion. Even like all the other mechs, the other mechs in tier 7, the mechs in tier 8, none of the ones that you can get as a free-to-play are really that good. And the weapons as well. Like, once you get to tier 7, that's kind of all you want. Like, you don't really need to get to tier 8 after that. So, yeah, maybe replacing Redeemer with Orion at some point would be a good idea. But then you'd be in a pretty good spot in terms of mechs until they start releasing more of them for Acorns. Should I duplicate Ember 12 for Eclipse? Probably. It's a really, really strong build for free-for-all. Alex, please stop spamming. I think they should rework the type grade system again. What do you mean? Like, what specifically do you think they should change? I mean, I agree that it does not very, like, particularly accurately reflect performance. Specifically in Epic, actually. Like, a lot of legendary mechs are pretty good, but then the epics, like, all of the epics are either really good or really bad, and it's actually incredible how different they are. Okay, so if you saw the pinned message, I would very much appreciate if you gave me relevant info, right? So, like, instead of just giving me your ID and saying, please check it, I don't really know what I'm checking for, right? So I would prefer. We're approaching the end of the stream, by the way. I would prefer. You have a much better chance of being reviewed if you include the at very least the Gear Hub tier that you're in, so that I know what you have access to and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna assume everybody's a free-to-play player, unless, clearly they want stuff. But if you're not a free-to-play player, then feel free to let me know, and I'll take that into consideration in terms of what you should, look out for offers. Which, by the way, if you're willing to spend $10 and you got that $10 offer for the like rank 3 Deathwalker or something, incredible mech. It's like a top 3 mech. Absolutely worth getting. Spark, you're only in tier 3. It's the same tier that my free-to-play account's in. Yeah, both of my free-to-play accounts, I should say. Oh, nice. This is the exact build that I was using just earlier today. Absolutely brutal. Okay. So tier 3, figure out exactly what you have access to, because I kind of forget. In terms of weapons, I mean. Pulse Cannon 8. Rocket Mortar 8, I think, is also 8 coins, right? I think it's only the 10s credits. Javelin 8, I don't remember if Javelin 8's credits or not. Anyway, so the first thing I would say, don't upgrade Paragon. Not worth it. You're going to replace it. It is a pretty garbage mech. The slingshot, with some practice, slingshot is better with close quarters weapons than it is with javelin rack. Javelin rack's it's a much easier weapon to get used to, and it's really good for newer players. But as you know, as someone who made multiple alt accounts and used shotgun slingshot instead of javelin rack slingshot, the shotguns did way better. Yeah, I beat them every time. So there is that to be said. The missile rack 6s, it's a good weapon. I suppose you could, I'm hesitant to say it, but like you could rank up your slingshot one time. Because that is the only decent fast mech that you're going to get access to for a long time. Your next one's going to be Redeemer in tier 5. And it's not even that good. Like, Redeemer's not even a great beacon runner, to be honest. But if you're to get Slingshot to, like, rank 3, you could then put the Missile Rex on Slingshot. That would actually be really good. You'd be better off with long arms on Arachnos instead of shotguns. Even though shotguns are much stronger, Arachnos is, like, uber slow and honestly very weak for a rare mech. In which case, having ranged weapons is just going to be more convenient. This is a great build for now. The Paragon could be replaced with... I guess just save up for a Guardian. Yeah. Guardian's a good one to get. Myself, I'm actually thinking of skipping Guardian on my free-to-play account and going for Shadow instead. And the reason's that this is going to act as my beacon runner, as well as a counter to like Javelin and Helix, which is the sort of thing that you basically have 0 counters for until you get to tier 5. So it's going to be incredibly hard to deal with unless you have Shadow. So that's basically just a theory that I'm running with, that I'm going to be trying out, but I don't know if it's necessarily the best decision. Guardian is definitely stronger overall. I have pulse cannons for Arachnos. Don't do pulse cannon. Don't do pulse cannons, just do long arm. Long arm has better damage, honestly. Hangar power is around 5.7k. Looking to tweak it around a bit. A 20 energy Zephyr Panther killshot as epics on standby. I would appreciate your YouTube profile picture is like very bright orange and it stands out from everybody else's. But in general, please put all the information in one message. Don't make me like scroll up and find it. Oh, the MD. Respect. Okay, yeah, so of everything, the lowest rank mech that you have is actually the Surge. Just focus pretty much everything on Surge. It will be worth it. You have 2 shotgun builds, essentially. 3 if you include Vortex. I don't necessarily think you should be using these on Vortex. Unless you play 2v2, then it's probably fine. It's at 20 energy now. I'm gonna do some decent weapons for Vortex. There's not a ton of them, to be honest. Like, minigun's good. Stormrack's good. Nades and cryos are pretty good. Podgun as well, actually. Disruptor's pretty decent. I would not necessarily go for another close quarters build, though, for the Vortex. It can actually be rather detrimental. I've been running the Ember Gun Vortex achievement build relatively often, like in the last week or so. I've been running that pretty often, and it definitely has some pretty obvious downsides. It's like you get yourself caught out in the open very often with it, and it's not ideal. So, if at all possible, I would replace the frags on Vortex with something with a bit more range. But also ideally some type of like some type of AoE or weapon spread. Because Vortex is really good at like dealing with multiple enemies at a time. So what you don't want is a weapon that like explicitly targets a single enemy, which is like snipers, chain gun, graviton, stuff like that. So anything that has like an AoE, so like disruptor, nades, cryo, that type of thing. Those do much better. You have minigun and stormrack. Damn, nice. Yeah, that's good. I mean, it was a 20 energy mech, so a single stormrack 16 wouldn't necessarily be the most ideal. What miniguns do you have? Like, worst case scenario, I'd say like maybe disruptor or chain gun. Chain gun's definitely not like ideal, but it's better than graviton for sure. I am not sure which mech should I put graviton beams on. Aegis or Vortex. Would have to rank them up first or keep them on Panther. I would probably keep them on Panther. Gravitons don't do great on Vortex because, like I just said, Vortex is really good at dealing with multiple enemies at a time. And Graviton Beam explicitly needs to be targeting a single enemy until that one enemy is dead, because Graviton fully relies on the buildup of the status effect, which needs constant application on that target. So you can't divert targets with Graviton, and that makes it pretty bad on Vortex. And then in terms of Aegis, it's not as bad on Aegis, but the problem is, like, when you drop your dome and you're in protection, you're very much immobile. You're not moving pretty much at all. And so it's pretty difficult to get good angles on enemies, or to keep angles on enemies when they're moving around, when they're trying to get behind cover, when they're doing this, that, or the other thing. It's pretty difficult to keep angles on them with Gravitons. More often than not, they'll end up breaking that beam, and you'll get like maybe one implosion off on them over the entire like 10-second time frame of your ability, which is pretty bad. Panther has a lot more flexibility in terms of the shield wall. Gives you a lot more space to move around to get angles on stuff. That's why it's better. That's why it's a better mech for range. Aviation, welcome back. All right, well, I mean, I think that's the last one. It's officially been 2 hours. Should I swap out my Surge for my 6-star Zephyr? No, I don't think so. I think a rank 3 Surge would probably be better than a 6-star Zephyr. Zephyr's not very good. Just adding your tier doesn't mean it's okay to spam, yeah. Pretty much. Zephyr feels offended. Yeah, I mean, probably. I mean, I suppose if you have the implant that increases the ability radius, then it's pretty good, especially in 5v5. But pretty much apart from, like, outside of 5v5, Zephyr is basically useless. Which is sad, because I find it to be an incredibly funny mech. Yeah, please don't spam. Yeah, the one that I just finished the last one for today. I will be, well, I should probably say this now, since it's relevant. I will be continuing the videos, like the Hangar review videos. I know I did the one, and I was like, get it to 200 likes and I'll make more. It did get there. It took a very long time, but it did get there. The video itself did not do very well, but yeah, I already recorded 2 of them. I tried. Well, I mean, like, I've had some issues with YouTube uploading one of them today, but it wasn't going to be public today, regardless. But yeah. But in general. But yeah, that's basically what I was trying to say. So, like, I have 2 recorded. One of them is already edited and ready to be uploaded. And then, yeah. And we'll kind of see how it goes from there. Sort of learning where to dump random, like, it has it has random gameplay footage in it, completely unrelated to the things that I'm talking about, because I explained it in the video a little bit, but I'll explain it again here, because my streams are a lot more rambly, and I cut out a lot of the rambly stuff in my videos because YouTube doesn't like the retention laws. But basically, it takes forever. It takes like an absolute eternity to get a bunch of relevant gameplay clips of all of these things, right? Because in the course of, let's say I'm looking at a hangar, right? If I'm adding relevant gameplay to the background, then that means, at very least, I'm showing gameplay of every single one of those builds. But then every time I talk about a change that you could make to that build, I'm probably also, I'd also have to show that. That's that's relevant gameplay. How does this weapon perform on this mech compared to this other weapon? So that's like, maybe 10 builds at least right there in terms of just stuff that's relevant. And then, getting decent clips. Because, the things that I mentioned in the video, it only lasts like 5 seconds. So, I need to make sure that like I'm getting a decent showcase within the 5 seconds that I'm talking about it. So then sometimes that's like multiple matches per mech or per build, which is anywhere between like, so somewhere between like 5 and 20 matches just for relevant gameplay. And then I have to add it all in, edit it together, and it just takes forever. And I know this because I've done it before. I've done it in different videos. And I absolutely cannot do it for those. Jushu, I have no idea what that even means. Like, I started to read it, and I was like, because like I always kind of like I read it first before reading it out loud to make sure that's like actually something that I should read out loud. I don't even know what that says. Like, I cannot understand what she's saying. These people never learn with all the spamming impresses me enough. Commitment, bro. They committed. Anyway, yeah, so that's about it for that. In about, yeah, I guess in about like an hour, so like 2 p.m. EST, so like about 50 minutes. We'll come back. I won't be doing any more Hangar reviews, but we'll be choosing who the winner is, winner of the giveaway. Which, final reminder before I end it, put your in-game ID in the chat along with the keyword, which is like ID colon. So like, it should look like, wait, can I even put it? No, I can't put it in there. So like, it should look like this. So you put that and then you paste your in-game ID after that. If it looks any different than this, then you're probably in trouble. It's probably not going to work. But basically, I have a bot that searches the entire stream chat for that keyword. So if it's not exact, then it doesn't work. Another time. Oh dear. But yeah, we'll be back in like 50 minutes to choose the winner. It'll be random, but I'll explain more about the giveaway part when we actually get there. Otherwise, yeah, that'll be it for the Hangar review section. Thank you to everybody who cooperated. Everybody who wasn't spamming. Hopefully, I was able to help. And yeah, I'll see y'all in about an hour. Take care.